What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It is that time of the year where Righteous Reg and I get to pick our top 10 favorite AEW wrestlers of 2024. I'm very excited because I have no idea how different or similar our lists are going to be.
Mm,
Reg, what up?
what's up, my homie in the California Connection? It's your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster, media man, Righteous Reg. Denise, I kind of feel like this list, I feel like a lot of it's going to be similar because, like, the people that had runs, I feel like we agreed, like, throughout the year, we agreed on what was hot. And I feel like we're going to continue that trend here today. But I don't know. Also, we could be totally different on things.
Yeah, but this time we're going to be ranking. Like, that's totally different
It's
than having
different. You're right.
similar or different opinions. There was some
Right.
hard decisions to make. I felt like the top, like the first like five were very easy, but once I got to the
Easy.
bottom, I was thinking, well, now I got to really pick and choose. And what's weird is that there are some people that are, AEW, people that are so popular on AEW that are not on my list.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. Like you get exactly the same way. The first five, I was like, okay, this seems pretty easy. I got this. But then the bottom half, I was like, okay, it's that difference between like who had the best year and who was my favorite and kind of where do those things meet in the middle, you know?
Yeah. I was trying to not be biased, and I was
Yes.
thinking, "Okay, think about what this person did versus what this person did." So I had to reshuffle some of it. So, yeah, I'm not even fully confident in the bottom portion of my list, but let's just do it, right? Here we
Let's
go.
do it.
So this is the plan. We're gonna go and do it at the exact same time. So we'll both post up our little sheet of paper with our answers, and we'll kind of just like run it down till we get to number one. So we'll start from the bottom. So here we go at number 10. Ready, Reg? Put up your paper.
Oh, it's not on the paper. I got it on my phone.
All right, that's fine. Just have your phone ready.
Yes,
This
my
is
phone
like
is going
old
to be
school
ready.
versus new school.
And you're the younger one. That's my favorite part about this. That's so great.
All right, so I got Okada and you got Athena. All right, so
Yes.
totally different starts to these lists. Why do you got Athena at number 10?
I see exactly where we're about to be going doing this off the rip. So I didn't know how ROH played in this thing. I mean, it's the same company, it's the same stuff. Athena functions on a different brand, a different wavelength than most of the wrestlers on my list here, but I figure she had to be featured. She had another dominating bang up year, having matches with great people, establishing Billy Starks as the one that's next up, becoming the face of ROH and what it's going to be, especially what it's going to be leading into this future here. There's a lot of kind of things up in the air. What's ROH going to become? She's still the dominant one. It's still her brand. She became the longest reigning Ring of Honor women's champion of all time, longest reigning Ring of Honor champion of all time. I felt like she was needed to be represented here. And also, she needs to be on the main roster in this next year. So I had to put her on my list.
I think so too. I think the fact that you put Athena on your list in the top 10 should signify, like, hey, Tony Khan, anybody that's
What's up?
listening out there, sending this out into the AEW void, put Athena on the main roster because I do think she'll like elevate. It's so funny. I just use main roster, even though that's not even a term in AEW, but y'all get me. Put her on
Essentially,
AEW, put
yeah.
her on AEW Dynamite or Collision or whatever, and get her into the big time because, Ring of Honor, there's only so many people that watch.
Yeah, that's the issue here. I mean, I figure like if there's going to be a new TV deal, whatever's kind of happening here, there could be new viewers, new eyes, max deal, all this stuff's going to bring in new stuff. But like how it's existing now on Honor Club, people aren't going out of their way to check it out. And she still was dominant. She still did her thing. She still became one of the best Ring of Honor champions of all time.
I never thought that I would have Okada at number 10. I thought, his first year as a full-time AEW person, I thought he would be like number 3, number 1, somewhere around there. But unfortunately, because they didn't really have Okada do that much this year, I had to rank him a lot lower. But I'm just happy he
Mhm.
made the list. There was a slight chance that he wasn't because there was a couple of people that I was going to put instead. But then I went in there, Reg, and I looked for people and I started counting which matches I loved the most. And it was like, okay, this person has 4 matches I loved the most. This one had 3. This one had 2. Okay, so that is how I ended up with Okada at number 10. And I'm sorry, but I do think that have him go out there, have him wrestle more matches, and I do think we can see him at a higher plane because he did have some great bouts this year, but just not enough to rank higher.
Spoiler alert for the rest of my list. Okada didn't make my list, Denise.
Wow. Okay, so kind
I
of proving my
know.
point here then. Isn't that fucking
Yeah.
wild?
It's insane. That was one of the when I got to the bottom half, I got to Okada and I was like, it felt so weird because I'm like, this is Okada. He's had amazing matches, he's had amazing stuff, but he hasn't been presented how he should. This is Okada, Denise, like one of the greatest of all time. And yeah, I didn't feel like compared to the other people on the list that he should be here. I guess that's a good thing, but also like a weird thing. I don't know.
Let's see, maybe next year's list will be different, but here we go. Number 9. Reg, I have Mercedes Monet. Who do you got?
All the way at number 9 is crazy. My number 9 is
It's Kyle.
Kyle Fletcher. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mercedes Monet at number 9 is insane, Denise.
Dude, there was just other people that I ended up ranking higher. Now, part of the reason why Mercedes, like I was torn. I actually had her, I think, at number 9, and then I swapped her with Okada. So I ended up doing that. I know, but it's because so I ended up going with Mercedes at number 9 because I did think she had a lot of really good matches, in particular the ones with Willow, of course, the one with Chris. I think those were really the two standouts. And then Stephanie, those were probably the top standout matches that she had. But I think the only reason why I ranked her a lot lower was one, because there was other people that had matches and feuds that I personally just loved so much more. And then
That's
the
fair.
one thing that I do want to see Mercedes overcome in AEW is I want her to get rid of the version of who she is from WWE. Like I want to see a more raw version of who Mercedes Monet is. And I still haven't seen the AEW version of her in terms of her personality. So that's the one thing I do want to see. But I put her here at number 9, particularly for those matches that she had.
Unbelievable. Just your number 9 and number 10, Denise, are like these being so low means that AEW's competition is top notch. If Okada and Mercedes are number 9 and number 10, I can't wait to see the rest of your list. But
Decisions were
yeah,
made, Reg.
who was left on the chopping block is my question, Denise. That is my
Kyle
question.
Fletcher, I had to chop him off. And you know, I love Kyle Fletcher.
You
I
love
didn't put him,
Kyle.
I love Kyle. I didn't put him on my list.
Wow. Well, look, I'm going to represent for the homie Kyle Fletcher here. I think that as far as like breakout, this is what this company's about, young people that we want to invest in the future. I don't know if there was a better in that position person than Kyle Fletcher. He had the stuff with Will Osprey. He beat Will Osprey. But beyond that, he's been having such a phenomenal year in ring. He had a run as the ROH television champion. Him and Lee Johnson had some amazing matches, but all the stuff that he's done on AEW TV, whether it be the Continental Classic or just random TV matches where he's hitting the top rope brainbuster on people and he's just so confident and ready to take over the world. This was Kyle Fletcher's year, in a year filled with some of the greatest performances we've ever seen. So I thought I had to put him on here. Putting him over Okada pretty much was the thing, Denise. And that sounds crazy, but I had to make that choice.
I know I couldn't do it. I was there. He was like number 11. Literally, I had a
Mhm.
list of people that I thought, well, they got to go somewhere, but the math ain't
Right.
mathing. They don't fit. Every time I put somebody in, somebody's bumped out. So unfortunately, Kyle Fletcher had to be that person, but I'm so glad he made the list. All right, so here we go. Number 8. I went with Pack.
Oh, that's a good choice. I went with the man, the myth, the legend, Takeshita. Denise, I thought about Pac, but I thought that since he's been in so much of the Death Riders, triple threat, trios type deals, that like he didn't really get a chance to shine as a singles guy. But I'd like to hear why you added him to your list.
So I put Pac specifically because of the in-ring work. The in-ring work
Mhm.
that he does is just eighth, man. It is so freaking good. Not the stories. The stories is not what got him here. Being part of the Death Riders group that did not get him on this list. It was literally the
See?
matches, and in particular, it was the match that he had with Will Osprey. That was just, dude, come on. I can't see a match like that and then not put that guy that was in the match against Will Osprey on this top 10 list. And he had so many other like big matches throughout the year that I'm sorry, I cannot not have Pac on this list. He was actually ranked a little higher at one point, but then I kind of felt my bias kick in and I'm like, all right, let me bring down Pac just a little bit here. Only I think what went against him was the storylines. That's what went against them. But the wrestling, that's what got him up here.
Ooh, I wanted an explanation, Denise, and you knocked it out of the park. Because pretty much when we get to matches of the year, that's a top 5 AEW match of the year for me because of what they did, how they changed the game. But as a wrestler, I see there was the extracurriculars, the storyline stuff, weighed a little too heavy. So I was like, Pac's gonna be like the number 11, kind of how Kyle Fletcher was to you. In mine, number 8, Takeshita, I think this shows how insane the competition, the in-ring standpoint of all these talented people on this list is. Takeshita had, if you just look at his resume and look at the matches, you're like, this guy is the wrestler of the year. Like Osprey, the triple threat matches, the Ricochet stuff, like all the stuff that he's been in, he's wrestling like he's the baddest wrestler in AEW. He wrestling like he wants to be the world champion, became international champion. I think this was like along the lines of Kyle Fletcher of establishing a next up, this guy's going to be world champion one day. I think that Takeshita had one of those runs, and I think that 2025 is going to be even better. This was just like next year he's going to rank even higher. Like he was guaranteed to be on the list, but getting him so low was because I feel like the second half wasn't as not exciting, but wasn't as busy as the first half, and he kind of slowed down, but he still has been killing it every time, you know?
We were worried about him for a second there. We
You
were
were
like,
worried.
when's AEW gonna push Takeshita? Like, when are they gonna give him his due? When is he gonna have his moment in the sun? And they
Yep.
finally did. Like, that's one of those names that they actually listened. Like, they actually listened and said, hey, you know what? Takeshita is doing a really good job. Like, he's going out there and having amazing matches. Let's do something with him. And then, he found himself carrying singles gold in AEW. But now let's get to lucky number 7. I have
7,
Willow
7.
Nightingale.
Oh.
Darby
Darby
Allin.
Allin, number 7. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I guess I'll start off with my reasoning for Willow. So I put Willow at number 7 because I thought that she had an amazing first portion of the year. I think her feud with Mercedes is really what landed her in this spot. She got over as such a big baby face. The match was incredible. They got the biggest reaction of the night for that pay-per-view where she wrestled Mercedes, and the crowd was just losing their minds, man. I remember coming out here and doing the post show with you the following day and just being like, Mercedes and Willow, they were money. Oh my God, I was so obsessed with this. I think she really grew as a competitor. Obviously, she also got to hold the TBS championship. The only reason she didn't rank higher was because I think after that, they sort of just didn't do anything more with Willow. And
Mhm.
that kind of bummed me out. I think Willow could have been top 5 had they continued the streak that she was on
Yep.
throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way, and I'll get into it more in a little bit here. My number 7 was Darby Allin. I think this list, I'm thinking of like who are the best AEW TV wrestlers, and I don't know if there's anybody on this list, maybe one guy that has a better. It's the TV match, the main event. We need you to bring what you bring to this. Darby Allin represents that to the core. We talked so much this year, Denise, about where we want to see Darby, how we kind of feel like he could be the one to beat John Moxley. And I feel like every time he's gotten his opportunity to do something, whether it's with uh Brody King or this crazy match he had with Commander very recently, or the stuff that he did, trying to take on John Moxley and all these guys. Putting his body on the line in every single match. I think Darby Allin represents AEW maybe more than anybody else on the list. Just what, speaking of like alternative, he's just so alternative. And I think that he's had such a strong in-ring showing. Every single match of his, it has it one crazy ass moment. I think he has to be number 7 here on my list. Shout out to Darby Allin, future AEW World Champion for sure.
Number 6, I have Konosuke Takeshita. So I kind of ranked them a little bit higher than you, but I think, man, for a lot of what. Oh wait, you go first. Actually, I
Oh
forgot to
yeah,
say your name. Okay,
I
okay.
was laughing because ours are so close. Mine's is number 6 on Willow. I was like, oh damn, that's funny because we almost had that one the same.
We almost did. I went with Takeshita for the reason that I told you earlier. We were sort of waiting for him to get his due on the show. He was delivering on an in-ring aspect, but it kind of seemed like they just kept forgetting to put him in
Mhm.
storylines. And then obviously things changed the second that he got into that triple threat with Ricochet and Will Osprey. He won the title, and it was just cool to see him get recognized for that. I think that Takeshita still has so much more potential. I don't think they've scratched the surface with him. I think that there's still so much more that they can do. I'm terrified. Please, AEW, do not drop the ball into Takeshita. I want them to keep pushing him, and I want them to show more of his personality. I honestly, part of me doesn't even want him in the Don Callis family. Like, I know what attributes help him out with that. But I almost feel like I want him with a different kind of a manager, not necessarily Don Callis, only because I feel like now, I feel like the problem with Don Callis is that they associated him too much with acts that didn't really get anywhere. And I feel like
Yeah.
they always do better when they break out from Don Callis.
Okay.
But now
I
they're kind
understand.
of turning the tables, right? Like he's got Kyle Fletcher too, so that's great. So maybe I'm wrong in this right now, but I don't know. I have this vision of what Takeshita could be, and I just see him as like this evil
Mhm.
character who's just like, I'm gonna go in there and rip my opponents to shreds, and I have no guilt, no remorse when I do it. And that's what I want to see from Takeshita, because I think that's the part we haven't gotten to just yet. But he is a phenomenal performer, and so for me, he had to go at a pretty high up on this list.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear what you're saying there. It's like Don Callis still has this stigma of like some of his guys were like on losing streaks, or he was representing people who weren't like the next up people, or weren't people who were going to be in the main event. But now things are changing as Kyle Fletcher. He has some new pieces there. Takeshita has been having an incredible run for him. I think that Don Callis could represent something for him, but I do feel you there. Yeah, Willow Nightingale. I think you talked a lot about the great points of what she's done this year. Like I said, like you said, I would have had her higher on my list if it wasn't for the second half, which is I don't know. I feels like they were waiting for a moment to give her something. They were trying to put some other women over at the point, but like her momentum was so huge when we were coming out of these big moments that she's had this year. We talked about them that they should have capitalized a little bit more, but it feels like they're rerouting the ship. She went over to CMLL, had an injury or something. She's back. She has potential to win a big tournament here. I think she's gonna finish off the year strong, and that's gonna show like as a whole, this year was one of those ones. Willow Nightingale, like you said, the Mercedes match is one of my favorite matches of the year. We were there live. It was all the vibes. You could feel her energy. You could feel Mercedes' energy. You could feel the crowd's energy. She was there for that moment and she executed. The matches she's had with Stat, I think, are just some of the best AEW women's matches that they've had in their entire existence. And Willow Nightingale as a street fight, anything goes type deal. There's not a lot of better wrestlers than her. I think that she's set up to have a bigger 2025, I think, with how she did in 2024, but the 2024 was pretty monumental, some of the moments she had.
She really, really did, man. And she took advantage of it. And also, I want to shout her out for going out there and literally traveling all over the freaking world. I just saw her last night, actually. I saw
Really?
her at the New Japan show. She was there. And yeah, so it was really cool to see Willow there. But yeah, she's awesome and she's very down to earth, cool person. All right, but
Yeah.
here we go. We are now in our top 5 AEW wrestlers. So this is where it's going to get pretty intense. All right.
Tough.
Woo! Oh boy, here we go. Let's do this. Number 5. I'm giving my spot to Swerve Strickland.
Oh, Swerve is number 5 is
Number
crazy. That's
5.
funny. Yours is
Y-
Swerve and mine's
Hangman
is Hangman Adam
Page.
Page. Yeah, there you go. Look, the rivalry continues, Denise.
It really does. All right, so number 5, Swerve had a really big year. Cheap Pop, go ahead and check out my interview with Swerve where we talk about those big moments that he had throughout the year. But let's see, AW World Champion, that was one. The big money contract, big feud with Hangman Adam Page, my personal favorite AW feud ever. Him and Hangman freaking killed it. The trilogy, it was 3 matches, right? Or was it 4? Was
Which one?
the for Swerve and Hangman?
I think did they get to 4?
Did they get to 4? I feel like they got to 4. Whatever.
I feel like they did,
Whatever. We
yeah.
got a bunch of matches with Swerve and
Mhm.
Hangman, in particular, of course, that Texas death match, which was just like, what the hell? Reg, you and I sat together for that show, and I was just like, what are we seeing right now? We went through all the emotions of, yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool, to, oh, that's
Oh,
disgusting. And is he dead? Who's dead? Someone's dying. Those were all of the reactions that we had during that match. And then, of course, there's steel cage match with a very, very complicated moments, from the syringe to the cinder blocks, all of that had social media talking, is AEW too dangerous? That then led to him running with the moniker of, most dangerous man in AEW. So I feel like all of that, oh my gosh, the Bryan Danielson moment, I almost forgot to name that too.
come on.
There's a lot of stuff, guys. All right. So that's why I gave Swerve a number 5.
Wow, Swerve Strickland at number 5 on Denise's list. She's coming out the gate. But yeah, Swerve's
Wait
rival,
till you
pretty
see
much
number
all the
4.
pretty much all the same things you could say about Swerve, you could say about this man. Hangman Adam Page, I think every time I see him on the screen, I want him to be AEW World Champion. Like, I forget about everybody else in the company. When he's there and he's doing a promo, or he's in the ring and the crowd's giving him that energy and he feels like the baddest man in AEW, I'm like, there's not a lot of people that I would rank over Hangman Adam Page, except for the 4 other people that are currently going to be on this list. But that's a different thing for a different day. I think
Except for
that
these people.
for these 4 people that are coming up here very soon, I think that he is definitely on his way to becoming AEW World Champion again. I think he had a great run before, but now the position that he in, what he got after killing Swerve, burning down his house, like, he had such an insane year, established himself as one of the premier AEW guys that, like, beyond this, no matter what, he doesn't have to have a championship involved in his stories to be in the main story, to be one of the top cards, one of the top matches on any card. Like, Hangman Adam Page is definitely next up, and I think the feud with Swerve, him being number 5 on yours, him being number 5 on mine, is like really what put him over the edge. And these guys, it's not over between these guys. Like, they're gonna stop for a while, but then they're gonna get right back to it. Like, it's gonna be one of those feuds. In 5 years, we're gonna be like, these fools are still fighting, but we love it.
They're career rivals though. Like, that's it. It was one of those feuds that hit so hard that you're always going to associate those two. They've been embedded in AW history, that's for sure. My number 4 is Hangman Adam Page. Hangman did nothing wrong. By the way, who's your number 4? Bryan Danielson at number 4?
I know, Denise. I know. Look at your face. I know.
There's flies going into my mouth right now. I can't close my jaw. I'm just like,
I know. I
what?
know. Listen, this again, insane year. Bryan Danielson. When you look at his resume, Denise, I went down his resume and I was like, what? What? Like, I almost had to be like, all right, number 1, you guys, this is crazy. His resume is insane. He became AEW World Champion and he didn't want to at all. And he just made that sacrifice for us as fans. The amazing match with Swerve, the amazing match with Will Osprey. I think that the Bryan Danielson that I've loved for 20 plus years, the one that I've wanted to see be Bryan Danielson, the guy I used to watch in ROH as the ROH World Champion, the guy that I saw on the Indies and APW and all these places, that guy was here this year, Denise, and he was having some of the best matches that we've ever seen in his final year, and his final year as a full-time wrestler, and he still was better or the same as he was in his prime. It's like crazy to even think about, like, how could seen this guy retire, come back, have my favorite wrestling moment ever at Kofi Mania. And it's like, how could he do more? And then he comes and does more, Denise. It's insane. I can't believe it. And yeah, number 4, that must, like, what's my top 3? What's my top 3? I don't know. We'll see.
That's insane. I'm using process of elimination now to figure out your top 3, but I went with
Mhm.
number 4. I mean, of course, I just went over the Hangman Adam Page Swerve Strickland feud, but the reason I ended up ranking Hangman higher was for one specific reason. Or actually, 2 specific reasons.
Like, you ranked him
One,
higher than Swerve.
one being the reason that I thought Hangman Page had already peaked in AEW. Okay.
Okay.
I thought that was like the highest he was going to get. I didn't have the vision of what he would
Yeah.
end up becoming now.
Mhm.
So you got that one. The other one being and it's kind of intertwined with the same thing, but The reactions that Hangman is getting right now, he has become one of the most interesting characters in AEW. He is getting louder reactions than John Moxley, than
Yeah.
all of these other people that you would consider bigger stars because they've been to WWE, because they've done the thing, they've been known longer, stuff like that. Hangman Adam Page as a Hangman Adam Page was chef's money, like chef's kiss for me. It was
Yeah.
money. And that is for me, dude, I think he needs to win the world championship again. I think they need to continue him as a heel because he can be AEW's best heel out there. And which is
He
crazy to
is.
say because before I used to think their best heel was the MJF, but it's a
Yeah.
totally different dynamic between MJF and Hangman Adam Page.
That is super crazy to think about. Like, that is Max's position. Like, his thing is like, I'm the baddest motherfucker here in AEW. And that wasn't how it was this year. I mean, he was gone for a lot of it, but Hangman has established himself. I think there was a couple of people on the roster like John Moxley, Jack Perry. There were these people that were trying to convey that they were heels, and it just didn't feel right because Hangman Adam Page was doing it, and you were like, oh, that's how you do it, you know?
Yes, exactly. I feel like again, he just hit new levels that we didn't even know that he could hit. He got new
Right.
he got some new hits, that's for sure. He felt like a brand new performer, even though we've already known and seen and loved and appreciated Hangman. I mean, there was a point, remember when Hangman was champion, where people were like, "Oh, this reign hasn't been all that." And I'm like, dude's
Yeah.
killing it in this Texas death matches that he's having. Like, that's his match. And to say
And
that
that
your match is the Texas death match of all matches that a performer can have, that's his match.
And it's
Think
crazy
about
because
that.
I don't even think about that match being like he's so great now that exactly what you're saying here, he's kind of reinvented himself as like the Hangman Page we knew for the first 4 years of AEW. That guy's kind of gone. He's a different guy and he's bigger and better and on his way to having a even greater run. It's insane for a pro wrestler to do that in a company with some of the baddest pro wrestlers, some of the baddest heels in the world. Like MJF isn't a slouch. Like if he's here, like it's going to be a good competition for who really is number one, you know?
Yes, really it is. All right, so here we go. Number 3.
Number
I gave
three,
my spot to Darby. Mercedes Moné. You know,
money,
you
money.
had Darby what I considered low on your list, and I had Mercedes on which you considered low on your list.
Mercedes, Denise, when you had her solo, I'm like, number nine. I am,
What
first
number
of
did you
all,
have Darby in?
he was number seven. That's pretty
See,
high.
I thought that was very, very low for Darby Allin.
I understand what you're saying. I get you. I get you. But Mercedes, come on. If we're talking about really changing the game, really representing exactly what I think they're paying her for, like she had her own dedicated segments. She's really trying to establish herself as different than Denise thinks she is. I don't think she's presenting herself as WWE style. I just think that's how she is. That's her being, that's her character. It might come off like that, but that's just how like she is. That is Mercedes Monet. I think beyond that, though, the matches, Statlander, Willow, she had an amazing banger at New Japan. She's had a bunch of bangers at New Japan. I think, there was a couple of missteps with Britt and there was some extracurriculars in the Sheeta match, but I think that for the most part, when Mercedes needs to get in the ring and go, it's on. Like she's fire. She could do it. She's a big match wrestler. She's a main event wrestler. She represents exactly what this company needs. And I think that she's better if she might be better than she's ever been to me. Like I'm a huge like she's my favorite women's wrestler of all time. So like I'm definitely biased here, but I feel like the run that she's had when the bell fucking rings, there's not a lot better than Mercedes. Y'all got her fucked up. I'm telling you, Mercedes Monet, number three.
All right. Well, I went with Darby Allin number 3 because, well, for multiple reasons. All right. First of all, this is the year where we're finally talking about Darby, on the heels of becoming an AEW world champion. Like we are
Yeah.
having this discussion and it's a real discussion now. Like this is the most where it's had the most possibility that it can happen at some point. Additionally, let's not forget that he started the year with a very, very incredible career moment, not something that everybody can get. And that is tag teaming
I didn't
with
even mention that.
Sting. With Sting in his last match ever. Reg, I had the freaking ball in my throat of wanting because I
Dude,
wanted to cry. I was like, oh God, I got the feels like trying to
yeah.
fight the freaking the emotion that I felt. But oh, I had to kind of look away a little bit when they played Sting's little video package that they did right before. I was like, let me look over there at that section
Yeah,
so that
totally.
I
And then
wouldn't start crying.
they're riding up in the car, and I'm just like, you know what? Somebody cutting some onions or something. Like the air in
Yeah.
here, the smoke got in my eye. Yeah, the smoke is in my eye
This
from
is too
this.
much, exactly. And so, like, he was a part of this big, big thing. He went through
Huge.
freaking glass. I mean, think
Yeah.
about that. And then on top of that, think about some of the other crazy moments that we saw at Anarchy in the Arena, where he set Jack Perry on fire, where he was hung upside down for like what felt like 20 minutes, and then
Dude, they double
blood and
super
guts.
kicked him when he was upside down. That was
Yes,
crazy. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Blood and guts, what we saw there. I mean, it's just been I think Darby has really pushed the limits as to some of the crazy things that he has gotten away with in AEW. And so when I think of like really great AEW moments, I think of Darby. And
Yeah.
I just think he's awesome. And so, like you said, you were like super biased about Mercedes and how much you love her and this and that. I feel the exact same way about Darby Allin. I think this motherfucker is cool as hell, and I think AEW has something really special with Darby.
It's Darbs, man. The kids love him. Like he's the future of this company, what he does and what he represents.
All right, but it is time for the top two. I think the viewers might have figured out our top
They
two
pretty
already.
know. They know they yeah,
Yeah.
they know what's
All
going on.
right.
They're just like, what's the order of it for me? They already know what time it is.
Oh, and they don't know my order. All right, here we go. Number two. Who do you got, Reg? Or you want me to go first? Number two, Osprey.
Will Osprey. Come on, who's yours? What's yours?
Bryan Danielson.
Okay.
I was appalled, Reg, appalled when I saw this man at what, number 4 on your list or number 5? What was it?
He was number four. Number four.
Get out of here, Reg. Get out of here. This man is he. Where do I begin? Bryan Danielson versus Will Osprey. Bryan Danielson at freaking All In winning the title. Bryan Danielson has had a tremendous freaking year. Not to mention, this man has been hanging by a thread physically, which
Yeah,
is
honestly.
terrifying. He did all of that not being 100% physically. All of the neck issues that he has, like it is insane that he still went out there, period, and then went out there and still had matches that are better than pretty much every single wrestler, and every single other wrestler is literally, or a lot of them are like way better off in terms of the physical aspect. They're much better off than Bryan Danielson, and Bryan Danielson is still running freaking circles around them. So Bryan Danielson, oh, number two.
The funniest thing about this whole thing is Bryan Danielson's my favorite wrestler of all time. So it's like this little we're ranking 2024, but like if we're like forever, I'm like Bryan. But in this, he's just number 4. So don't try to throw me off track. Don't try to act like I ain't Bryan Danielson's number 1 fan, Denise. I'll fight your
I'm
ass.
starting to question your fandom, okay? I'm gatekeeping here. You're not allowed to be a Bryan Danielson fan anymore, Reg. You're not allowed.
I'm gatekeeping is hella funny, dude.
All right.
Listen, my number 1 and number 2 were the easiest ones to figure out. It was just like placement. And so we'll talk about it when I get to number 1. I feel like Will Osprey though, like I'm kind of upset now that they didn't make him world champion off rip. It would have messed up some plans, maybe changed my number. Like he probably would have been number 1 if they would have did that. But it's like this guy, every time we see him, Denise, is the match of the night guaranteed. Like he's gonna have the best spots, he's gonna invoke the best emotions. Like there's not a wrestler on this roster that can get a crowd into anything with the fucking match, with this heart, with this bumping, with the selling. Will Osprey, we went over it. Like Pac, Swerve, and Bryan Danielson, just if it was just those 3 matches, I'd be like, this guy's the best wrestler I've ever fucking seen. Like, that's how amazing it is. And he did those 3 matches just this year. can't even mention the countless others, Fletcher. Like you can go on for days and days on the amazing things that Will Ospreay's done. What he's brought to this company, he's changed so much. They keep saying, everybody keeps like saying, like, we need a big number one guy. We need that guy. I'm like, he's here, dude. You got him. You got Will Ospreay. Like, just change what you're doing with him and present him like he's number one. He's here. You got him. You don't have to search for anybody. You don't have to create a new guy. You got the number one guy here. So do it. But I mean, I understand. Like I said a couple times on the pod, Will Ospreay is very giving, man. Like he'll put his friends over. Like he's such a like company guy that he's like, what's best for the company, not what's best for Will Ospreay. And sometimes he maybe should just be selfish and like figure out what's best for Will Ospreay. You know?
I get you. All right, number one. I think everybody's guessed our number ones.
Yeah.
Mine is Will Osprey.
Come on, you guys. Come on. Come on. Bias. I know. I'll say it. I don't even care. This is just a biased pick from me. I'm not even going to be secretive about it. When Swerve won the AEW championship from Samoa Joe, that moment, him coming out with the garb, him looking like the baddest motherfucker in the world, he was my number one at that moment at Dynasty. Soon as he won, I was like, this guy's the wrestler of the year. He's number one on the BW 500. This guy is the guy. Like, when I was a kid and I thought like I want to see representation for myself, what would be the best version of what I thought as a kid? That's Swerve Strickland, Denise. Every week when I watch, like people don't understand, like, oh, you just like all the black guys. When you want to see representation and you see a fool that looks just like you and wrestles just like you want a fool to wrestle, and he becomes AEW world champion and he's a bad motherfucker, how could I ever put anybody in the world over that? What I've always wanted since I was 13 years old is here, and that's Swerve Strickland. Come on, you guys. Like that, just that accomplishment alone, beating Samoa Joe, establishing himself, having these crazy matches with Hangman Page, first black AEW world champion. Like, you guys, come on. That was an easy one.
I once did an interview with Raven, and he told me that every single booker in wrestling history books the number one guy that most likely that they see themselves in that person. If you
Yep.
see yourself in that person, that is the guy that you're probably going to be booking better than a bunch of other people.
Yep.
And I feel like when you were talking about representation, I'm like, yeah, chances are like you're going to root for the person that you most connect with, that you see
Mm-hmm.
yourself in that person. And I feel like you kind of nailed a lot of that when you were talking about some of your wanting to see somebody like Swerve since you were a little kid.
Yeah, like this is all I've ever wanted. And for it to be even better than I expected, and for like, it's not like a token thing, like, oh, here's a black guy, let's give him this. No, he is one of the best in ring. He is a big superstar. He has been in the gym. He is doing movies. He is doing music. Like, he's trying to be the top guy here. He's working countlessly every day. And that makes it even better. Like, it's not like I root for all the black people. I won't be I won't fake that, but like to root for one that's actually the fucking best makes it even better, you know?
Makes it easy, makes your job easy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Well, it's my turn to talk now, Reg. Number one, Will Osprey. Everyone suck a nut. Number one is Will Osprey.
All right, aggressive. Jeez Louise.
All right, I'm trying to emphasize this shit here. All right. Number
Yes.
one is Will. I legitimately think, I mean, you said you covered a lot of that. And Will Osprey, this man does not have bad matches. We make this joke all the time, Reg. Like, we're waiting
Can't.
for him to have a bad match at this point. Like, it's
Mhm.
not possible. There are things that are not possible. Will Osprey cannot have a bad match. But when I think about all of the matches that he had this year, Bryan Danielson, Pac, that match with Swerve, the match with Bryan, Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Ricochet, and Konosuke in the freaking triple threat. I mean, my brain is turning in circles because there was just even MJF. How can I forget the 1 hour bout with MJF? There is so much wrestling. Those are just like the top highlights. Like, there were so many other really good matches that we saw with Will Osprey, but I don't think that there is a better wrestler on AEW than Will Osprey. Will Osprey, to me, AEW signed a lot of people and paid them a lot of big money. Okada, Mercedes. To me, Will Osprey, who's one of those people that came in and signed this big contract with AEW, they are doing the most right with Will Osprey. And Will Osprey, I can tell, recognizes that he's getting paid big money and he's
Yep.
working to prove that this is why he is the best wrestler and why they paid him this kind of money. Like he's going in and knowing this is what I'm worth. And it's very cool to see somebody like this that doesn't have an ego, that doesn't
Mm-mm.
have like the I'm gonna go in politics so that I could be AEW world champion. No, he's not doing that shit because he doesn't need to do that shit. He's getting over on his wrestling. One of the things people were concerned about with Will Osprey was his promo work. He ended up going out there and basically nobody has said, oh, Will Osprey's a bad promo.
At
Nobody.
all.
You want to know why? Because he went out there and he was real and authentic. And when he talks, you're like, yeah, that's the real Will Osprey. Like that's the Will Osprey I expect to see outside of AW when he's not on camera. He's a cool person. He puts other people over. He gives people the matches that you want to see. He understands what the fans want. He has different matches for the wrestlers that he's in there and always meets the moment. The moment is never too big for him. He's bigger than the moment. And so man, Will Osprey, numero uno.
Number one. I think he took that. Remember those Triple H comments, Denise? He took that personally. Like when they were like, oh, you're running from the grind. He was like, no, I'm going to show you. I'm not running from nothing. I can do everything that your guys can do plus 10. Like I'm that
That
guy
was
and I'm
the
going to show
worst
you.
wrestler that you could ever say was running from the grind. I'm like, you
Right?
could have said that about 100 wrestlers, and I probably
So
been like,
many.
yeah, for sure. That guy's lazy or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Will Osprey running from the grind,
Yeah.
that was the worst option. That was the worst wrestler to say that about, in my opinion.
He took that personally and he showed us with every match, Denise, like, oh, you think I'm running from something? No, I am the standard. Like, your guys want to be as good as I am. Like, they wish they were on my level. It's just so great to see him shove it in everyone's face. Because there was a lot of people when he was coming out of New Japan to being like, this guy in American television, like, he does all those flips. He's this guy. He doesn't sell. Like, there's no way he could go on American television and do it just as well. No, he came on and started destroying it. His promos are top notch. His matches are the best. Like, you can't deny this guy.
No, you really, really can't. So there you guys go. I love how passionate we were both about our top picks. I told you the ones that were like higher up were easier. It's
Yeah.
crazy that there were certain people that didn't make our list, like MJF. We really need MJF back and grooving because
The
it's weird
real
not to put him on there.
the
Not
real craziest one that didn't make either of our lists, Tony Storm.
oh, I thought you were gonna say the Young Bucks.
Well, I thought about it, but I don't know.
The
I think
Young
Tony
Bucks.
Storm is the real one because, like,
The reason why I didn't put Tony was because I loved the character, but the
yeah,
matches were
yeah,
not as big as the ones that Willow had, as the ones that Mercedes had. And so
yep,
that was the only reason I didn't put Tony. But Mariah May, she was another one. The only reason I didn't put Mariah May was because I kind of felt like towards the latter end of, or right now, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like the gap between her winning the title and then her finally having this match with Mina, I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities there. And I kind of feel like this went from being the hottest story, like the hottest, one of the hottest stories in AEW with her and Tony, to all of a sudden, we're not really seeing Mariah May in that same spot anymore. And so that
right.
kind of took away from putting her on the list. But she wasn't on there. I'm trying to see who else I was almost going to put and then didn't put. Who else did I have here? Samoa Joe. Of
Oh,
course, he had a
Joe,
good start of the year. I didn't put him
yeah,
because we haven't seen him in a while.
Jay
Uh,
White.
Jay White, he's another one.
Hmm.
I mean, there was quite a few people that just didn't make it for certain reasons.
Jay White was on my list for a little bit, and then I was like I wanted to so bad out because like I think because we talked so much about how we want him to be put over that I was like I should, but I just couldn't justify putting him on the list over anybody else.
Yeah, that's what it came down to at the end of this. But there you guys have it. AEW does have a really big roster, so I can't imagine what your guys' list is going to look like. So make sure you guys go ahead and let us know in the comments section below who were your top 10 favorite wrestlers for AEW 2024. And Reg, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on every Saturday on Grapsity Podcast with Philip Lindsay. Every other Thursday is Ask Grapsity on the Fightful Patreon. And every Wednesday, I'm with Denise Salcedo. We're talking the AEW Dynamite post show. It's the California Connection. RighteousReg.bandcamp.com if you want to hear me rap too. And I'm on Blue Sky and a couple of other places. Peace, peace.
Perfect, perfect. All right. As for me, do not forget to subscribe here to the channel. I hope you guys are enjoying the daily videos. And if you guys liked this video, chances are that you're going to like the video that Reg and I did with Mikey Ruckus. We did a Can You Guess the AEW theme songs? It was very, very hard, at least in our opinion. So go play along and see how you guys did. Was it easy? Was it hard? Let us know. Check out that video. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.